What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if other Arkham villains will be mentioned or if they'll even be shown in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I have wondered this for quite a while. I think Batman being in it piques my curiosity, specifically for Scarecrow, and he is someone that I want to kind of start this video on. You got Penguin, but how much they use him actually scares me if they're going to fully just kill him off in this game, right? But do you mention anybody else? So there's a couple candidates, and Scarecrow is one of them. Reason I bring Scarecrow up, right, is because of Batman. I just find it very hard to imagine you don't bring up something Scarecrow did or the effects of Batman or what Batman did after. Having Batman in the game now as, honestly, not a main character, but I imagine he'll be a pretty sizable antagonist, at least for a little while. You'd think they would bring something like that up. Now, on the flip side of things, I'm not here to say you need like a cameo list of, right, like 20 villains in the Arkham franchise. I do think it actually becomes too much. I imagine from a developer standpoint, right, we constantly hear this stuff in the gaming industry and movies. They may want to kind of separate themselves a little bit. Now, I know Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is in the Arkhamverse, right? So you put yourself in the same universe, and then maybe they want to stay away from it. It doesn't exactly gel. I wouldn't blame people for saying, well, why can't you have some of these villains be reoccurring? I just imagine maybe from when they're making the game, they're saying, well, we want to focus in on the Justice League. We'll throw in a couple villains that you're aware of here and there. Some of them maybe we'll just talk about, right? We won't actually show. It would be quite something, though, if Penguin was, say, like the only one, right? If Penguin was the only in-person villain. I don't think Scarecrow would be, right? So I'm bringing up Scarecrow. I'm kind of just bringing him up that maybe Harley talks about it or something like that. And a lot of it actually would stem from Harley. It's kind of maybe the issue, right? Because a lot of these characters wouldn't have too much of a link. But I think of Joker, okay? I think of the Joker and something that I think Harley has to talk about. Again, he's dead, so you're not going to bring him in physically, but I would be shocked if you go through the entirety of this game and Harley does not at one point mention Joker, right? Or somebody mentions Joker to her as an antagonizing kind of thing, right? Like somebody I do think is going to bring up Joker's name. But beyond Scarecrow, just because of the tie to Batman and the last main villain, and besides Joker, I really don't care one way or the other. I'm willing to kind of give them some leeway of which ones. Now, I've always mentioned like Killer Croc has always kind of been a personal favorite. It's almost those discussions of like, well, if they made another Arkham game or if they made just a Batman game in general, what villains would you choose? And I kind of like default back to like my favorite ones. Killer Croc. It's kind of the same thing here where I wouldn't actually mind if you mention Joker, you mention Scarecrow. Somebody like Clayface would maybe, make a little bit of sense if you could figure out how. Now, some of these characters, right, are easier to bring into this situation than others. And another thing of bringing them in person, right, you got to give them a good reason. So I don't suggest you go after characters that are too difficult to get out of Gotham, or maybe you ended them a little. I mean, you can maybe argue Clayface is that example, right? Where maybe the way you ended Clayface, you don't even want to try to like finagle your way around it, right, to get him in. But like, could a Firefly, could some of those characters come in? If you think about like a Captain Boomerang and stuff, like some of these characters aren't really going to care. And you are telling, kind of a separate story, and your villains are the Justice League, right? So when I talk about Arkham villains, you can't think of Penguin, at least I can't, in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I don't think of Penguin the same way as I think of Superman or the Flash, right? Like, these are not the same thing. So you got to be pretty careful, because I do think anytime you're going to mention these villains from Arkham, they're not going to be all that important. And Penguin, again, like, you only see the one quick scene with him, and God knows even what happens to him before that or after that. I mean, that literally could be it. You don't know. But you have to transport them there, somehow, like all this different stuff. It would be a little difficult, and also doesn't matter to the story of this game if you have them pop in. But I think a couple mentions by like 2 or 3, if you want to try to bring in maybe like an outskirts kind of thing, like a Firefly, someone we've seen before, or you do something fun with like Calendar Man or something, like if you do something like that, Now, who do you bring into the game? That's a little harder. Like physically, who do you bring in? I wouldn't be all that surprised if Penguin was the only one. Maybe 50-50, depending on how it goes. I wouldn't be too shocked, just because I don't know if it's going to really be that kind of game. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. What villains would you bring back, whether it's mentioning them or seeing them? Who would you choose from the Arkham universe? Let me know. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.